I think Willie Nelson should be president.
Open up, Colorado. It's 420. Time to grind and burn.
This is not your son's stoner show.
Welcome to the Cannabis Community Project. I am Brainstorm, once again broadcasting high up from Denver, Colorado. I'm here to explore the business side of this newly emerging economy while living the lifestyle. Hey Cannapreneurs, let me take a second just to tell you about Cushly Organic Products. Their company puts out products that are used in hospitals, healthcare facilities, clinics, and homes throughout the United States and beyond. So Cushly has invented this very unique product that works like none other. I use it myself, and many of my close friends and family use it. What it does is it eliminates odor. It doesn't mask it. It's not a perfume. It's not a cologne. It eliminates it. And it's organic and it's non-toxic. And Cushly is one of the best. www.cushly.com. Also find them on Facebook and other social media under the same name, Cushly Organic Products. Hey Cannapreneurs, how are you doing this week? Welcome back to the Grind and Burn. It's been a great week for me. I've been working with my designer to get this new CCP t-shirt up. If you haven't had a chance, go to the store and take a look at this. This is going to be the new Cannabis Community Project t-shirt. It's going to be the thing that says you're part of the group, part of the community. And it's also how we raise money. So if you get a chance, Cannabis Community Store, or also just go to anywhere our products are listed on the website, Facebook, and a couple other places out there where you can see it. It's kind of a cool shirt. I like it. I'm really happy with what our designer did. And let me just throw this out to any of you out there in the community listening right now. As a community show, we work with people from the community, which means if you have something you would like to bring through the community, like a t-shirt or a design or a product, okay, so it doesn't always have to just be we do a long-form interview to get your message out, and not everybody's appropriate to be a sponsor. Sometimes we can just highlight a cool service or product in the course of everything else. So if you want to be part of that, just contact me. We'll make sure to get you on the show, or at least your product or service, and talk about it. We don't do fluff pieces though, and we don't do marketing and PR pieces for people, which means if you have a product or a service you want to highlight, be prepared to answer the questions that I will throw at you, and also be prepared to answer the criticism which may be, as products are not just simply there to be sold, they're there to serve a purpose and a function in somebody's life. And if your product isn't making it, it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it needs some critique and improvement. So I spent the last week working with a friend of mine who's a designer, wanted to put a t-shirt together. He put it out there. I'm very happy with it, and I hope he makes a lot of money from you all going out there and buying it. And of course, supporting the show and showing us that you have a couple bucks to keep us afloat as we keep grinding and burning. This week's show, we have Russell from Doobie.com. Oh, it was a great conversation. I love talking to people who love to talk. And I gotta be honest, not everybody I talk to is a media savvy person or the marketing person in their company. Some people are just not microphone friendly in that sense. But Russell's a great talker. He has a lot of great energy. We're going to learn all about Doobie.com, what their business is all about. They have a very, very unique outlook on social media. You're going to want to hear this one. This is not just another company that's putting up a scrolling wall for people to throw pictures and text up. This is truly some unique social media. If you could think of taking the best of all worlds from Weed Maps and Mass Roots and all these other sites that are checkout sites and social media sites, and think about it in a whole different way of connecting people together, Well, that's what Doobie has stumbled across here. And Russell tells us all about how he had the vision, how he brought it, where he's taking it into the future. So much going on. I love talking to people like that because I learn from them, and I really feel like they have a strong message to get out that you can all learn from. But before we do that, let's make sure, like always, we don't forget what we learned last week talking to Mary at Greenito. Did you go and check out that company? That's another very cool online company that is going places. You're going to want to stick to them. And if you didn't get a chance to listen to last week's interview, go back. It's on the archives. Listen to the full show. Let me give you a taste of it right now, just so you know what it is. Our short-term memory flashback relapse with Mary from Granito. In this week's show, Grind and Burn.
I'm Mary Smith, the CEO of Granito, the customer engagement platform for the cannabis industry. And I'm excited to be here with you today.
There's not a lot of outlets out there. At least there weren't. And more I'm starting to talk to more people like yourself who are really starting to show how there's more outlets of marketing and advertising than just using your local print magazine that's turned into the Stoner magazine.
Well, the person that runs Westward, Patty Calhoun, is one of my dearest friends. I really, really like her. And I'm delighted that that's a vehicle for dispensaries to get the word out. I think dispensaries, a lot of them don't have the resources to really dig into how to market their product. You're right. A lot of the offers are exactly the same. A lot of the discounts are exactly the same. It's a hard world to differentiate yourself. And that's why with Granito, there's no charge to dispensaries.
Yeah, and hopefully one day in the future we'll just advance to the point of having an app where we can push a button and it'll wirelessly inject THC into our bodies, right?
Well, and that's the question. Does it inject it? Does it have to be delivered through vapor? Is it faster? When you eat it versus, I don't know of any way to inject it.
No, I'm sure by that time in the future, just a visualization of looking at it will change the chemistry in your brain. That'll be enough, the photo alone. Can you give me a compare and contrast to what you're doing versus, let's say, like a known Leafly or a Weed Maps?
Smart dispensaries have really friendly bud tenders, but it's super expensive to have a bud tender spend 40 minutes explaining what a vape pen is to somebody who's never used one.
Right. I'm actually looking forward to following your company and watching it grow, especially with your approach and how you're really data-driven and taking this from a business infrastructure. I'm really looking forward to learning from your business, and hopefully other people that want to start businesses can hear your story and be inspired or see what you're doing and try to copy it to get started, which sometimes is the most difficult part, is just figuring out where that first step is and what to do first.
And honestly, I'm so flattered to be invited to your show. I have really admired what you do, and anytime I'm happy to talk with it. I'm happy to panel. I'm happy to talk with you more because I think this stuff is important. I think people get a lot of unreliable information, and that it's really important and encouraging to talk with other people who are already in it.
Let's meet up again in the studio.
Let's do it.
On the
I'll look
doorstep.
forward to it. We can talk more about these new products as we launch them too.
Excellent. We'll keep you involved
Take a picture.
Keep you involved in the community.
That sounds great. I'll look forward to it.
Well, very good.
You have a great day, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate it. You too.
It's my pleasure. Take care.
Hey, Cannapreneurs! Are you inspired by the stories you hear? Maybe it's time for you to tell your own story. Do it right here on this show. CannabisCommunityProject.com or email me personally. Brainstorm at CannabisCommunityProject.com. Dairy Berry's recording studio, located in Arvada, Colorado, is your local recording studio with affordable rates. Mark is well experienced and will make your show, music, or any audio you have sound great. He makes our show come across the internet loud and clear every week, and he can do the same for your project or band. Take a look at Dairy Berry's recording studio or call Mark at 303-456-8216.
What's the first thing they should do, or one of the first things?
First thing is nobody should be ashamed to start in the basement. And that is what I see over and over again is people think the only way they can start a business is to find that magic investor, the rich Uncle George out there somewhere who will give them $43 million for them to build their empire. And I'm going to include you in that. I've seen how you have been very frugal and how you've been very flexible and very creative and very entrepreneurial. And you have a very nice broadcasting company. People should not be ashamed to start in their garage, start in their basement. Think of Steve Jobs. Think of all those people who have made incredible contributions to the American economy and to our consumer economy and started from nowhere. You can too.
I appreciate that.
All rise, court is now in session. Face the flag, your country, recognize the principles for which it stands. Sit down. Good morning.
This is case 148. Be quiet, Harlan.
Have you ever seen a criminal before?
Whack his pee-pee.
Lucifer, son of the morning, I'm gonna chase you out of earth. Come and be set free. If you're not living for me, you're not to be quick. You just tipsy. Walking up on the street, gotta be on your feet. You know the police coming if you're tipsy. We got to be set free now. When I'm rolling down, down. We're gonna go jail cell now. No way, big, you not coming up with my. You walking down the street to the liquor store. Got to pick up a party before you go. When you're rolling up quickly, how you rolling up quickly be set free? Ooh. What do you do? She goes down, down, down. Yo, we're going to be celebrating. I will be up on the street and we will be running again. Riding up like a snow and pick the party up some more than I will make a be set free, free.
So I'm Russell Thomas. I started Doobie. Doobie's an application and a social network for mobile devices within the cannabis industry. We're about 2 years strong now, but only about 1 year as an app on the market, and we started out in iOS, Apple that is. And Android was just released this past January 9th, so that's not that old either. But we're progressing rapidly, so much so that we're in the middle of replacing much of our back-end servers to just to be able to handle the load and grow. And I think a lot of people, especially around Denver, say, well, we haven't heard of you. We go, yeah, that's on purpose. We've been in the dark. We've been coding and testing and trying to perfect a product for what seems like forever at this point. And we didn't want to market it. We knew at some stages it couldn't handle the growth, and we've always been kind of running on a shoestring budget. So it's been tough, but our focus has been perfecting the product and getting to know our customer and really getting this thing down. And I can go into more details as to how it works and why that's more complicated than the average. That's Doobie. And yeah, people are loving it. And this is kind of our year to really start growing. So we're almost there. Just to keep going, I guess, is where it started, because I know that's what you're going to ask next. It all started because two things. I've done security for over 20 years of my life, computer security, hacker, a cracker, whatever, freaker, fracker. That's part of it. The other part is my son, who is now almost 4, has Fragile X syndrome. We didn't find this out until the summer of 2013 that he had Fragile X, and we didn't know what it was, and it turns out it's basically corruption of his DNA. It can't really be fixed today. However, in a lot of my research, I found that anything technically can be fixed once we get to the point that we can fix DNA with things like CRISPR technology, which is coming very soon. So I dropped everything. I said, I can't fix him now, but I'll be able to fix him in the future, and I need to find a way to do that. and it's not going to be because I know this person, that person. No, it's going to be because you have a lot of money, frankly, in the end, because it's going to cost millions. It's not going to be in the U.S. You can't tell everybody they can fix their DNA. They're just going to go fix all their baldness and have 12-inch cocks. It's not going to happen, right? We're not going to allow that at some point. However, people like Bill Gates and Dick Costello have really been pushing a lot of work towards CRISPR and similar technology of editing DNA. And as of next year, Bill Gates is funding the first human trial to actually fix a little girl that has a rare condition. If that goes well, that'll be really the kind of the second case. It was done in China last year successfully, but it took like 30 tries. That's pretty good for the first shot, though. So this is a very, very big deal. We're entering the age of Gattaca. And I want to be able to take advantage of that to save my son. But in the meantime, cannabis is the only thing that helps him. We've been told use this, use that, but this kid went from not being able to eat, walk, or talk to doing all of those things after cannabis very quickly, and it was convincing. And that's where it all really started.
Well, that's really laid it all out, and I like the stories that have a good sense of where they're coming from. That have some real meaning behind them. Unfortunately, sometimes they're the sad stories that inspire great things to happen for many people. It's good though. It's good because you're in action and you're doing something now.
Yeah.
Doobie?
Yeah, D-U-B-Y. I was already in the cannabis business. I immersed myself into cryptocurrency and was running Potcoin, a version of basically Bitcoin for cannabis.
I do know what it is.
So I did that for a while, but it wasn't mine. During that process, we came up with Doobie just one day, me and my cousin in my garage, and we just knew we wanted to do something in cannabis. We wanted to build an app. We wanted to take it the next direction. We weren't exactly sure how. We knew there's a market there, weed maps, and everybody's doing well, but we didn't know what we really wanted to do. So we just started with the name, and it just hit me. I said, well, we need things that are connotations of known words and things where we can get a domain name, right? Ultimately, you're like, you want a good, nice, short domain name, short name, and that's where the thought came from. I said, check right now. Can we get Doobie? D-U-B-Y, not the classical spelling, right? And then that was it. And then from there, once we found out that, we couldn't get .com, we actually have .co because there's just an old lawyer in Florida that's sitting on the .com, but that's fine. As long as it's not a competing business of any kind or brand, I don't care, right? We just need a home that's short and easy to remember. So we have it. But right from there, I drew the logo that now exists today, the same logo that is now tattooed on my arm. Even though we sent it to professionals, had 300 plus some other logos made, voted on by many, many different people before we started this company. And the one that I drew on paper day one came out to be the winner.
Let's see the tattoo, if you don't mind, just since you brought it up.
Let me take this off.
Oh, okay. Wow, on the inside of the arm, the pain part.
Oh, my God, that hurt like hell, yes.
Wow, inside bicep, brave.
Yeah.
Cool, man, looks good.
And you say, well, you're crazy, right? Or what are you going to be, NASCAR of all your startups? Maybe. But
is that what the other tattoo is?
No, this is actually from Fallout 4. I'm also a video game nut.
Okay.
And it contains my phrase, which is I say almost every day, no excuses, only solutions. Okay. People come to me, why did it? I don't care why it failed. Just fix it. I don't care. So yes, I'm building out my sleeves, I guess, slowly based on one little stupid thing after another. But I love it. So yeah, it's so much so that everybody says, even if they don't know what Doobie is, they're like, I love the brand. I go, but I haven't even told you what it is yet. They go, I don't care. I just love the brand. You just know. You just know if you hear that enough and from smart people and people you really trust and respect, you go, that brand's sticking. It doesn't matter what app we put behind whatever, we're gold.
Well, take me before you actually got to that point. So you had a transition. Your son got sick. You were in the industry. You used that as a catalyst to focus on basically starting a new business. What was that transition? How long did that take? Are we talking about days, weeks, months? And what were the first steps you actually did to go from idea to implementation?
Fair enough. Yeah, it took about 6 months after we found out about my son for me to realize that corporate America wasn't doing anybody any good. Sure, I had healthcare, I had money, and I could probably retire quite well. I made a good living, but it wasn't going to make me happy. It wasn't ultimately what I ever wanted to do. I knew I always wanted to go run a business. That was never a surprise. I've run many others before. It's what I love most. But I didn't do that because I wanted security for my family, right? Yeah. So the irony is, as soon as I find out that now I have to pay all this money, I've got to try to save myself. I'm broke. I have real problems, right? That I did exactly what you think you wouldn't do. Right? I left it all. I said, screw it. Because I know in the end, the greatest chance of success for all of us is for me to do what I do best and what makes me happy.
You bet on yourself.
Yes, even though this is going to be really hard. I could keep saving in a 401k, or I could cash out my 401k and put it all on red, me, right? And so I got my cousin, and I'd already been talking to him every night, ironically, about a startup for over a year. We would talk every night at 10 o'clock about this startup, that startup. We would come up with ideas. We were getting ready already. It's like life was already prepared to give me this news.
But it was 6 months of little by little, here's the idea, here's the formation, here's how it develops.
That was 6 months to make the decision.
Out.
See you guys. I'm cutting the cord.
Okay.
Right. And after that, it...
So the idea sparked day 1, 6 month, end of 6 month. The idea
if we're talking about just Doobie. Doobie is a compilation of so many things, from my son to Potcoin to other businesses and ideas that all either failed or changed directions to lead up to ultimately what it is. Doobie wasn't even what Doobie is. Doobie was going to compete with Weed Maps. Doobie was a better way to do deals. Doobie was micro-location associated with the cannabis business, right? Yeah. I could tell you where a customer goes through your store, and if the couch needs to be moved 2 inches to the left because it's annoying them, they're having to go around in your store, in addition to what they're buying and why they're buying it and all these things, and still do that anonymously. Right?
So you took yourself out of that market and put yourself into what category?
We pivoted because everybody said, your logo, your brand, you guys are great. Your team is great. And we're like, yeah. And the idea is great too. They're like, it is, but it's been done, man. I don't care how much better you do it.
True.
There's too much space in this market. And so we go, oh, God.
Coincidentally,
okay,
I just interviewed somebody yesterday who's in that business, who just started that
I can imagine.
competition of Leafly and Weed Maps and the whole
very,
deal.
very, very difficult to break into now, right? So we just knew that we need to pivot, and it had to be shoved down my throat, right? Because I'm the guy that was all into it. I designed it. This was my baby, right? Yeah. And then it came to me one day. Everything came together, right? I've been doing security all this long, and I used to say back when, the Facebooks and the MySpace were getting big, I said, why? Why does something go viral? And I said, why isn't the network itself viral? Why isn't it inherently viral? And then it all came together at that point on November 11th, 2014. And I just started diagramming right there. And I just knew it. And I pull out graph paper. I like to work on a big architecture board. And I started going nuts. I said, this is it. I can make a social network that actually works by transmitting viruses, much like we need to use to save my son, right? To save my son, they're going to have to inject him with a good virus that goes around and changes the DNA in all of his body. That's fucking amazing. Let's take that same technology and let's apply that to social networking. That's a game changer. Why? Because now when you send something, let's say you're a dispensary and you send out an ad in my app or just, hey, look at my butt, I'm smoking. That literally leaves your store and goes to people that are running the app nearest to that, and then they are choosing if they like it or not, hence creating this effect that drives through a city. When you look at it on a grand scale through demographic lines, right? Yeah. You see where your message was popular, and you can start to derive why. You start to get all this information about your users, about what they do, and even possibly why they do it without knowing who they are, right? I don't want to tell Facebook what books I like, what movies I like, and who I last slept with. Like, why you don't need that information, dude, right? I can get all of this. I can derive everything that a cannabis business needs to know about their potential customers without knowing who they are. Yeah. And so that all came back around. So from security to cryptocurrency, where everything was fully anonymous, and the reason why they keep getting hacked, it's not the crypto itself, it's the exchanges, because people know they can get away with it. It's anonymous, right? And you put all this together, you go, this is what we need. And everybody says, the first thing they say, like investors, things like that, and they say, I tell them what Doobie is. They go, why just cannabis? I go, because that's where we need it. That's where people want to feel secure, regardless of whether or not they see a map of where their Doobie went. Nobody can tell where the fuck you are, right? Yeah. Or what you're doing. And while we don't care here in Denver anymore, right? That is not the norm, right? I'm addressing a world audience here, and they're concerned, and they have a right to be. Right?
I was on the site pretty thoroughly last night and the last couple of days, and it's pretty cool. It's a very cool concept, and I like the idea that you got out of the payment processing game because that was too competitive and went into social media. That seems a little ironic, but what you're doing, I think, is a very unique idea because it is not like any other social media that you've seen, and I really encourage people to check it out. Throughout the website or wherever you want people to go to take a look at what you're doing real quick.
You can go to www.doobie.co, DUBY.co. You can download the app from there. There's really nothing on the website other than some information and help. This is all an app.
Right.
So, get it on Android, get it on Apple. You can just go search it on either platform. You'll find it right away.
I signed up, got my profile going, and I'll start using it. So you're going through all these changes, 6 months, the idea is developing, you're pulling together other business ideas that you've worked with in the past. 6 months down the line, now you think you got it formulated, you think you got what it is. Now what do you do to actually implement this, what this is today.
Yeah, I mean, we had to learn. We had to, I'm an architect and engineer, but that doesn't mean I know how to build apps. I don't have a freaking clue. I've written software, but no, I have to hire people for that. And we have to go from design to, designers and do all these things and pay all these people and figure out what we can afford to do ourselves and what we shouldn't do ourselves, and lawyers and this. That's where it goes. And it gets immediately complicated, and is probably the most fun of any part of a startup business is the first 6 months.
What was the most complicated? What was the biggest barrier you had?
Technically, trusting your developers. If you're not a hardcore developer yourself, and I'm not, and I'll never admit to being, even though I'm a CTO, right? I just manage them and lead them. You have to have a lot of faith that you're not getting ripped off. And you get ripped off a lot. So much so that what we actually launched with originally was a shell of what we had ordered. It wasn't really doing everything I had ordered, such as, say, security, which is really, really important to me.
So how do you navigate that from a contract standpoint? Because I assume you're using freelancers probably overseas, yeah?
Never overseas.
No, okay.
That's the irony of this. We literally handpicked our first team out of Arizona. I mean, handpicked them, interviewed them, flew down there. Months went by. I had worked with these guys in Potcoin prior, right? I wanted them to do some work, possibly code the Potcoin app. And we never did business with them. But we kept going back. And we said, we know these guys. We know where they came from. They were referred to us. We did all the due diligence, all of it, and still got ripped off.
So what's the lesson? How does somebody protect themselves from that?
You need to be vigilant. I wish. But
what could you have possibly have done differently?
I could have either paid people to audit the work, which in retrospect I should have done, but I trusted, right? And you don't want to show distrust, otherwise, then they don't do good work either. Right? So you don't want to be auditing them as they're doing this. It's not actually a good idea. Really, I should have been diving more deeply into everything that they were doing down to a code level. But when you're trying to get a business going, you barely sleep. Yeah. Right? So to be able to do that. So in retrospect, what would be the best thing? Either having somebody like me that is more of a coder guy and having basically more people and having a coder, or hiring one just to serve that function on staff. But it's incredibly expensive, right? That's your biggest expense in a company like this. It's all coders.
Okay.
Yeah, those guys make a killing.
Yeah, we're talking 100 plus an hour.
Yeah.
That adds up pretty quick.
It adds up really, really fast. So and you have to be meticulous with what you want done and when and why.
Right.
And each thing that you implement, people say, well, that's so easy. Just change this icon. I go, dude, that's going to cost me like $5,000 to change that icon.
Well, because they're thinking about managing their personal website on WordPress, where they're not thinking about the infrastructure of a network. Of a company building a slightly different type of website than a content management type.
Right, yeah. I'm a web developer, so I'm with you. I mean, to me, I'm like, dude, it's like, just change that line of code. I can see it right here. It's not, but the impact here, things that you don't know, and you just have to admit that you don't know everything. And
right. I mean, I manage a handful of websites, but they're all just individual websites. I can go in and make changes every day if I want, and it affects nothing except the changes I'm making.
Yeah.
A little bit different, though, once you start to expand and become a little bit bigger.
Well, when somebody's in your app every moment of every minute of every day,
Right.
365.
Well, an interactive type site, whether it's app or website, just requires a whole different infrastructure than somebody just viewing your about page and clicking on your Facebook icon. It's a different setup, and I can imagine that type of app is expensive. But that's the product, right? I mean, that is the product.
It is, and we don't make money. We don't have a target to make money right now. We never did.
Okay.
This was to create something and then make it successful and worry about everything else later.
Okay.
At the kind of the classic Silicon Valley, just build it and they will come. Well, we did.
So
they came. Now we have all the problems that we once wished we had. Our servers are dying because they're growing too fast. We don't have any money to keep growing, right? And yet we have a fantastic product. We have a fantastic customer base. They love what we do. We don't want to sell out, and we never, frankly, will. And I'll get more into that in a minute. There doesn't have to be ads in your face, things like that, with the way that Doobie works. But still, at some point, we've got to make a big move.
When you go home tonight, you're going to eat dinner on food that was purchased, right?
Yeah.
Purchased with what?
With money I saved for over 20 years doing my job, because I knew, actually.
So you're funding yourself?
Yeah. That I knew that my entire career in IT, where I made a very decent amount of money, and probably more than I should have made for a while, to be honest with you, don't squander it. Save it, because I knew what I really wanted to do was something like this someday, right? Because I'd had other businesses, and I knew that was really my dream. And so I'm glad I did. But as you learn with any startup that's more successful than just a few months or a year, is it takes twice as long and 3 times as much as you can ever imagine.
Yeah.
And it starts to hurt, and it starts to affect your relationships. It starts to affect everything in your life to go through this. And you start to wonder, am I really doing this to save everybody, or am I destroying all of us because we're all stressed?
Well, that's a good question. Why are you doing this? I mean, we know the catalyst of what motivated the change, your son, but why are you doing this versus that, whatever that could be?
Because this is different. This is a differentiator. This idea takes social networks to a new level. It takes cannabis to a new level. This is something worth fighting for. It's a good idea. It's a good product. This isn't just a moneymaker. This is way bigger than that. And when people really see it behind the scenes, and which barely anybody has, half the features aren't even ever built into the app. Like, just wait till we do all the things we've been meaning to do this later this year. It's mind blowing, and you start to realize the other potential. And you say you have to keep going. I mean, and people love it. They tell you it makes them happy every day. I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I can die now. I can be like, okay, I did something for the world. I don't care if I made one guy happy in the middle of Kansas that can now see people doing dabs. Great. I made that guy happy.
Well, you're in a pickle because there's the situation where you have a product or a service and nobody's using it, but you don't give up, and people are looking at you with pity, kind of like, hey, dude, see the writing on the wall. Yeah. But you're in a pickle because you have a product that people are engaging with, people are interacting with, but yet there hasn't been a business model pulled out of it yet. So you can't really give up, because how do you give up when you have a crowd standing in front of you, right? It's like if you're a singer and people are standing in front of you, even if you're not making any money, how do you walk away from that crowd?
You know you have potential. You know you have huge potential, right? So what do you do?
This is my weekly struggle, because I go through the same thing of figuring out, how the hell do I make a business out of this? I've thought about quitting, but I don't know how, because people write me emails and send me messages. I'm like, shit, people are listening now.
Right.
How do I walk away now?
I tell my wife in the worst times, because you'll have like 12 rock bottoms before you ever fucking make it somewhere, right? And I tell her at those times, I'm like, these are problems I once wish I had, and you got to fight through this shit, because it is worth it in the end, and you will make it, and you can't give up, because in the end, you have to go down with your ship, right? I can fire everybody, but I still have to go down with the ship, meaning I got to pay to keep the lights on, even if I know I'm dying.
Right.
But I'm not. So now I'm in an opposite pickle. I'm actually growing like crazy. People love our product. We've barely really captured everything we want to do. So the potential is massive. Yet you reach a point where, too big to fail, right? We've all heard that. Well, it's the opposite. We don't have the kind of money to address our growth. And so that's our struggle. Now, we're going to get it. Don't get me wrong. Many other investors, we finally kind of opened up to that world, right? But a little too late, frankly, because it takes a long time to get that stuff into the bank. And it's there, and you have to do that. Otherwise, we have a duty now, like you said. I got to ride this ship, but I'm riding it to the top, not the bottom, right? So our struggle right now is to figure out ways to do the most we can with the least possible, so that we can get to that next grand phase of Doobie, which I call Doobie 3.0, right?
So how do you think about the future without thinking about end dates and measurable goals of, by this date I should have this or that? But how do you plan for the future without that counterproductive, like, well, if I haven't made money by 2018, I guess I got to close shop, or if I haven't hit 100,000 followers by, you don't want to focus on that. But you still need a plan for the future, right? You got to have somewhere to go with this. It can't just always be, let's create a fun app and have fun and ride it into the sunset into our death. At some point, there has to be a bank account is empty, the car has been sold, kids are selling chicle on the corner.
Chiclets. Yeah, you're right. And I think about it every day, because all I did for years was risk management. So, my God, I always have a plan B for everything. I have a C and a D, and maybe even down to a Z. And in this case, no, you do have to write it out. Yeah, and you have to have extreme confidence, yet not overconfidence as you're watching your ship go down. But we're not there. How do you plan for that? And how do you plan for both scenarios? And you don't have a choice. You have to look at both of them. But in the end, all you really have to look at is your value. I know my team is absolutely amazing. The best group of guys ever. If you can't work as hard as me, you're quickly either leaving or I'm making you leave, right? So the people I have left right now are amazing. My app is amazing. My brand is amazing, right? And I don't need to say my. That's wrong. It's ours. By far, it's ours, right? That tells me enough that we'll make it. It doesn't matter. We will get whatever we need. And to your point, we know exactly what we want to do and how to monetize. That's kind of the beauty of this algorithm that we wrote. Is that's exactly ultimately what it's designed to do, is not only distribute information in an anonymous way and in the most efficient way, but to do so from two perspectives, a consumer and a business. And so it's really a matter of just turning a few things on, enabling, business-like accounts, giving them advanced analytics and features to see what their doobies do. But there's no really inherent overhaul that's required for this app to be monetized. And even by doing so, look, if things aren't liked, they don't go very far in Doobie, right? So if I send out a bad ad, right, I might reach, 50 people near me, but if they all put it out, they're like, dude, that ad sucks, right?
Right.
It's not going anywhere, right? So it's self-regulating. And so when you have that, you also don't have this offensive kind of guerrilla-type marketing in your face that you see in a lot of places when they begin to monetize, say, Facebook, right? Which really annoys me, and I don't even like using it anymore.
There's a Reddit aspect to the vote up, vote down.
Yes, exactly.
Implemented here.
And I'm glad you said that. Most people don't make that connection of Reddit. They're like, oh, it's Instagram or it's Tinder. I'm like, no, it's none of those actually. It's pieces of all these things that worked in other apps, mind you, but around this ultimate algorithm behind the scenes.
Well, I like the anonymous part. I like that that you have some background in cryptocurrency. I do believe that blockchain is going to revolutionize this industry. Money aside, just blockchain and record keeping is something that I believe once this industry figures out what it really is and how it works, and they take a hold of it, it's going to revolutionize how we do most record keeping, and it might even overflow into the medical system for that standpoint alone of just the power of the blockchain. Cryptocurrency and the anonymous aspect with your app already being there, I could easily see those going together. There's the perfect combination there, and that most likely is going to be the future, because regardless of legalities, I don't really want somebody tracking my alcohol purchases. I don't want somebody tracking my DVD purchases. I just don't really like anybody tracking what I purchase. Mm-hmm. And not that I'm against marketers wanting information to market better to me. I don't like the fact that people I don't know knowing things about me. And that's pretty much what it comes down to. So I see kind of where you're going with this and all the benefits of how things can be incorporated. Cryptocurrency might even be the outlet for dispensaries that are cash-based to have a parabank situation where they can have a place to put their cash somewhat protected, at least from a security, maybe not necessarily a valuation standpoint, but at least from a security standpoint, and have it without their name being necessarily all over the place for it. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to develop over the next few years with blockchain and cryptocurrency, and with checkout sites and with social media sites, and it's just all going to come together. This is a great idea, and I don't think you just stumbled across it. I think, as you described, it was a building aspect. So my question is, building since when? How long have you been like this? How long have you been this type of person? Always since you were a kid?
I mean, this idea, is more than probably at this point, probably more than 12 years old.
Yeah, not just this idea. What you're describing as your personality and your entrepreneurism, your work ethic, your interest and curiosity, your drive. How long has that been you?
Yeah, always. I started my first business at 10 by going door to door with a self-propelled lawnmower and a skateboard, and I'd pull myself through the whole neighborhood asking people if they wanted their lawn mowed. By the time I was 16, I could drive. I had a crew. I had a couple of trucks. I had
Nice.
I was killing it. I was making more than my teachers in high school, and I didn't really want to be there, and I just want to be snowboarding and working all the time.
I love that story because it's very similar to my own. When I was 9, 10-ish, I used to go door to door selling greeting cards that at the back of the comic books, they would have where you could have them send you a box of cards and stationery, and if you sold them, you could buy with the points the toys out of the back page of the magazine.
Yeah.
So I used to do that because they used to have this thing called COD, cash on demand. So as a kid, I could get on the phone, I could order the COD package. The UPS man would bring it. I would give him the $8 or whatever it was.
Too, you're right.
And then I would go door to door selling the greeting cards. And this was my first introduction into kind of learning to get what I wanted on my own terms. But here's a dilemma I have in life. So that's kind of how I was. That's kind of how you were. And that's kind of why we are like this today. But what about people that weren't like that? What hope do they have today? Is there hope for them?
Maybe not. I'll be honest with you. You're kind of born the personality type to be an entrepreneur or not, if that's what you're referring to, right? I truly believe it takes a special kind of person, and I rarely run into them. And when I do, I want to have them work with me and learn from them, right? It's the type A personality. It's the can't stop and don't know why. I like to work and I'm a workaholic, but I don't know I'm a workaholic, right? This is life. What do you mean slow down, right? I mean, that's where I think that's why I got into cannabis as a kid. It slowed me down. At the end of the day, my hyperactivity, I could calm it down, and I could breathe and I could think, and I'd stop being kind of a jerk too, to be honest with you, because you get very uptight and tense, and when you're a type A all the time, I mean, you're nervous. I'm sitting here cracking my knuckles right now, like, I've got joint problems as I get older. I mean, that's just who you are. And some people are leaders, some people are followers, some people are managers, and some people are leaders. But an entrepreneur is everything, and and all you have to know is what you don't do well, and then find other people to do that crap, right? And good people. But managing all of it, dealing with it, sleeping every day, and knowing that you could lose your every penny, and that's
why I say it's a dilemma, because I believe that's how more people should be. But at the same time, I don't know how to get through to those who don't already see it, right? Mm-hmm. It's like if you're a sports coach. Are you developing that athlete, or are you discovering him and helping him thrive on his own? So I look at the cannabis industry as a way for the former loser, right? The former dropout, the former whatever he was classified as, to have an opportunity to actually say, turn it into a past negative to a positive, get a job, make a career out of it. But I don't know how to do that with somebody who just doesn't already internally have that desire. I look at this show as, well, here's an opportunity for people to listen to people talk about how they started jobs, to get inspired, to go and do it, to try to follow those same steps, to figure out what the basics are. But then there's people who just aren't going to do it. But yet they're still bringing society down, because now they got to be the minimum wage worker. They got to be the one who's never going to be fully funded and is going to need to be supported by society more. They're going to be the one who just isn't reaching the potential to make overall society better.
But it's a choice in the end, whether you want this responsibility, right? Anybody can be rich, wealthy, powerful, famous. It's actually not that goddamn hard. People are like, I can never be famous. Yes, you can. Here, let me tell you the things you need to do. And then they're like, I don't want to do all that. I'm like, I know. It's freaking hard. It's really hard. It's expensive. It's hard. It's hard emotionally, physically, everything. So while you can tell people, it rarely actually happens. But the number one group in which it does occur? People with felonies. They don't have a choice.
Right.
Right? They have to figure something out.
Yes.
Right? They're thrown to the wolves. They screwed up. They were peeing in a playground. They're fucked now.
Yes.
Right? Actually, maybe that's exactly what they needed. That getting busted was exactly what they needed. I got busted. Something made us go, yeah, and I'm not going that way. Right? But sometimes you went too far. You fucked up too far.
Yeah.
Those people are some of the best business owners today.
Yeah.
Right? You could say, Bill Gates didn't, he dropped out of college. Okay, yeah, and there's people who go to Ivy League, and sure, they've got a way better chance. But what'll give you the best chance is having basically nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And I think when I had my son, I think that's what hit. I'm like, you have nothing left to lose, right?
Right.
You're not going to maintain that pretty little lifestyle you once thought you were going to have. So it's over, pal.
I've called myself for years the most unemployable person, not because I have a master's degree. I have 20 plus years in a similar focused career path, but I have a criminal record, and I'm a very defiant type person, and I don't really like authority, and I hate being in structured environments, and I can't stand sitting in one place for too long, and I can't stand monotonous type work. So I'm a horrible employee.
Well, you just wrote my resume, right? That's it. Yeah, you're a horrible employee. I didn't have a job for more than 3, maybe 4 years at most. And simply because I couldn't deal with them and just this slave-like structure. You need to be here this hour, this hour. I'm like, what if I just get the work done?
Yeah.
Right? How about I just get all the work done in one day that I usually pretend to get done all fucking week because I'm trying to keep up with my losers next to me. Keep down. Right? And so I eventually did find jobs like that, where the consulting was what I loved, right? Because I had a different boss every day. I could get all the work done as fast as I want to get it done and just get paid to get the job done, right? Yeah. That was very entrepreneurial. It was a happy medium. right?
Yeah.
But outside of that, yeah, you're screwed. No, you need to just run your own stuff. Like, forget it.
Right.
Sorry to break it to you.
But, that's why this show started.
Yeah.
I also had a catalyst. My brother died of leukemia through 2009.
Wow. So sorry.
He was a grower in the Emerald Triangle, Northern California.
Really?
And he was my inspiration to look into the industry beyond just as a consumer. When he passed, I wanted to give tribute to him and find something I could do. So I looked at what kind of businesses could I start, could I do some type of nonprofit or a fund? And it came down to, this is what I need to do. I need to talk. I need to talk to people. And I need to talk to people about something beyond what's your greatest time you got high and what's your favorite strain and how much THC can you take at one time. And that kind of stuff doesn't interest me. But that was my catalyst. And then being in this industry as an unemployable person and finding a way to make a career goes, now I need to bring this to other people because there's other people out there who are standing at a Conoco checkout line going crazy. You know who you are. If you're happy standing in front of the cash register, I'm not talking to you. If you're the person who's just crawling out of your skin in the job you're at, this is what I want to show you. There's a lot of jobs. And with a little bit of imagination, you can just create your own job. And cannabis
That's cannabis.
As I say, whatever exists out there in the world, just put the name cannabis in front of it, and there's a job you can create.
That's why it's the fastest growing industry in America right now, or at least
Right.
it was last year, probably still will be. But it's simply the fact that it's a brand new market. When has this last happened since literally the gold rush and everybody came to Colorado to mine our hills, right? Now we've got the green rush of our lifetime. Because, yeah, you're right, put cannabis in front of anything. Go, have fun, see if you can make it work. Anything else, you've got 5,000 competitors already, staring you down. This, you got a shot. You got a real shot as a baby, right? There's no Walmarts of cannabis yet. None. So keep that in mind. Yes, that's probably the most encouraging thing of all. But outside of that, yeah, I'll sit and I'll talk to somebody. I'll have a beer with them, whatever, and I can tell you whether or not they're going to make it in that conversation. It's a personality. And it's not that they can't make it. If that single person can go find other people that can fill their gaps, maybe they're not the everything. Nobody is. But as long as you know that and you know what you want, and whether that's, wealth, fame, whatever, recognition, go get it. This is a freaking America. This is the best. And we're in the middle of Denver, Colorado. We've legalized cannabis. We're in America. This is the best place in time ever in history. You couldn't have a better opportunity.
Yeah. And it's just voted the best city to live in. It's a beautiful sunny day today.
Gorgeous.
And I'm slightly high. So, yeah. I mean, what what else could you want? We're really looking at it coming down to people, right? The people that work in the industry, the people that represent the industry, the individuals that make up the companies and the jobs, and the money that funds it and the money that supports it. These, to me, are kind of the two most important things that we need in this industry desperately. We need more money. At this point, I'm not sure where it comes from, but we need more money because without more money, it's very hard to keep fighting the regulation that's going on in all these small communities, right? You can make a constitutional amendment. That doesn't mean your town is going to be selling weed on the corner. It's just like the abortion argument, right? Sure, Roe v. Wade will never get overturned. Take a look at what's happening around the country. There's 6 abortion clinics that operate and they're all on the verge of closing. I thought it was legal, right? I thought medical marijuana was legal. Why is there so few places to get it? Because just because you pass a law doesn't mean it's going to automatically exist. It takes people out there fighting, the activists, which requires money. And then money is the thing that corrupts at the same time. So when you're starting your business and you're navigating through this industry, how do you determine the people you're going to associate with? And how do you determine the money you're going to need and where you're going to get it from? Right now you're self-funding, but that's going to end.
I mean, not entirely. I mean, we've taken money. It's just more like it's angel money. It's not the big money,
right?
It's other guys.
Are you
like,
going
like
for
me.
an ArcView type pitch one day?
And we've talked to them, but yes, I mean that's kind of where we're getting. We're in that little middle of this ground weird stage where you're in between. I've got seed money and I've got I need big money. Like we really did something here. Like
yes,
if without it I die. And why would you let this die? This is awesome, right? That's where we're at. Yeah. So yeah, how do you determine that? Man, half of it is if they determine they can do business with you. Because how many people do I talk to that like I'd love to, but I can't.
Yeah.
You're in cannabis. I go, okay, well, it's nice talking to you. You know, even my own family, I mean, they won't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Really?
Yeah. Not that they would have given me money before.
As
but,
in you're the family disgrace, or they just frown upon what you're doing?
Ironically, I've probably done the best of anybody in my entire family. I gotta be fair. I shouldn't say that. My mother's an amazing woman, has done amazing things. But when you look at, I graduated college. I've run businesses successfully. I've made decent money. I have kids. I still have my marriage together. Like nobody has that, right? Nobody has that anymore.
Ironic when that's the claim to success.
That's right. Yeah, which it teeters every day, mind you. But it's
divorced.
But it's still there. Yeah. So yeah, that's that's it. Sorry, what was the question now? Now you got me thinking about my wife.
What does your wife think of what you're doing? She's your partner, right?
She's awesome. She's
your business partner.
Massive support. She's not a business partner. She really doesn't know what I'm doing on a daily basis, even if I tell her.
Okay.
But she supports me.
Okay.
And I support her blindly as well. Whatever she wants to do. I mean, whether she's writing a book or doing her podcast or doing her thing. Oh, great.
Are you both consumers of cannabis?
Yeah. Okay. And even more so now, because now, one, I do it for a living. So, but really, it's the vape pens. Oh man, that's changed everything. Now we can just be high everywhere, and that's great. And because it's a slightly different kind of high. I call it a working high. I'm not so bombed out that I can't do my job well. I can actually do my job better in many cases. Yeah. So I like that. Whereas then I can get some flour or do some dabs if it's Friday night late and I just need to be wasted. Right? That's a totally different story. So now I live in this classic neighborhood. I swear to God, it's like Leave It to Beaver. There's people walking kids with dogs and like, yay! I'm like, oh my God, I live here. It's weird, and yet they all smoke weed. Like it's all the soccer moms now. And everywhere you go, I go to weddings, they're all vaping. Like at the end, they're not having drinks anymore. They're just vaping around here. I'm like, right. This is our future. So I love Denver because we get to see that now. We get to see where it's going to go in like 10 years, just nationally, maybe even world. Who knows?
I agree with that. Right? I have 2 kids. I consume around them. I don't like if they're obviously standing in front of me. I'm not hitting a pipe, but I consume in home. They know what it is. I don't hide it from them. I don't.
And why should you? Did your dad hide the beer from you?
No, right? Well, he was a raging alcoholic.
Well, okay, let's not go there.
I don't want to, but that's the point. I don't want to put any spotlights on it as anything else than when I'm eating something that's gross, like my triple layer hamburger or something. I don't want to put a spotlight on it where it makes them feel weird or awkward or anything else. I consume. They sometimes see me consume. I do my best to not make it a smoky environment. I use various apparatuses like the Smoke Buddy and my Cushly sprays and various things to really reduce that. I don't do it in the same room as them. But I don't hide it per se, and I believe parents shouldn't. I believe parents should vape if they want to, and they should drink less or not drink at all. I don't think there's anything wrong with it on that aspect, and I'm pretty open about it. I don't hide it.
You're way ahead
somebody
of us.
asks me.
Way ahead.
Yeah, I don't hide it, and if somebody asks me, I just don't tell people. I don't go around telling people, "Hey, man, I smoke in front of my kids," and but
it's a problem. It's a cultural shift. Everything is a cultural shift. All of this legalization and every movement is just like you said. It's not just money. It just takes time. It just takes changing people's minds.
Yeah.
And so I don't care. You don't care. But I'm not telling anybody.
Well, what really blows people's minds is when I tell them my wife doesn't smoke. She's a straight lace. She goes to church on Sundays.
Wow.
She doesn't. But yet we've been married 8 plus years, 2 kids. It's just our.
Good for you.
She roughly knows what I do. Same thing. It's just not her world.
Right. It's not her world.
We don't go to cannabis events together. It's just not. Just like I don't go to church with her. She goes by herself. We live our personal lives and we have a family life together, which a lot of people don't understand.
That's a modern relationship. You're actually doing it probably most correctly.
Well, I mean, people assume that my wife would have to smoke, right? I mean, she doesn't. She's done it like twice in her life, and that's about it. I mean, she's just not into it. She doesn't drink either, really. I mean, it's just,
I hope you guys have sex.
I'd like to thank my sponsors, the Christian Family Heritage Fund. And we'll be broadcasting on PBS, syndicated next week live. Make sure to tune in, kids. Yeah, you're obviously more comfortable with that with your wife being a sex therapist.
I do. Yeah, you need to go on her podcast. Yeah, we'll break you open. Yeah,
right.
It's all good. Yeah, so you think my kid? Yeah, I got 11-year-old daughter, right? She has to be well educated about cannabis and sex at her age, right? That's what her parents do. So
she's going to be the overly mature kid in class.
Big time. Already is. Yeah. But you know what? I think it'll do her wonders. As she grows up, and to have that kind of I don't know. We used to call it street knowledge. Now it's common knowledge, but it's at a younger age. I wish somebody told me all this stuff. Yeah. Man, I think I would have done more earlier in my life.
My daughter asked, what is this? What is that? And I tell her. And when she asks about, like, can I do this? Can I do that? I tell her, no, these things are not for kids. These things, she's asked me, what is sex? How our babies are made? And I give her general descriptions, and then I tell her, you're still too young to really think about this too much. This is generally what it is, but don't really think about it too much. There's a long time to go before you need to think about it. Mm-hmm. She asked me when she sees alcohol, what is it? Why kids can't drink? I tell her it's for adults. It's not for kids. It has alcohol in it. It's not good for the body. And these are things that I wish my parents would have just been like, hey, this is this, and cut out all the nonsense. Right?
That was a cool thing my mom did, actually. She never really said it outright, but she always knew I was smoking weed in my room, like at 16.
How is that possible?
And she'd just knock on the door. I mean, I'd be pulling bong rips. Like,
how is that possible?
Right? And she's knocking on the door. Stop smoking in there. And she knows I'm doing bong rips. She's a nurse. She's no fool. And I didn't, at the time,
I can't even comprehend that type of family relationship.
Crazy.
With the
but
way
you know why
it
worked? Because she's like, okay, I'm cool with that. Just don't touch the other crap, right? Don't touch the addictive stuff, the coke and the heroin and all that stuff. And you know what? So I never did. Yeah. That was actually a really good thing she did was to say, hey, drink. She never said go get high. She just didn't tell me it was awful and would flush my weed like most parents, right? She would just overlook it. And that was great. However, when she found probably like 50 hits of acid in my ferret food, she promptly threw that away and made sure I knew about it, right?
50 hits of acid, huh?
That's I mean, look, that's manslaughter. I'm glad she did that. She drew the line where she should have drawn the line and said, dude, you're like a 16-year-old kid. What are you going to do? End up in jail for the rest of your life for manslaughter? You want to get busted doing weed? Fine, but don't you dare do that, right?
Yeah.
Good for her. Because you know what? I ended up being a relatively well-rounded kid. I've maybe tried coke once in my entire, 40-some years of existence, which is pretty amazing for an addictive personality that loves to take risk. Wow, right? So good for her.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
I did not have a mom like that, and I don't know if there's any correlation, but I did do about every drug, and I did get in about every trouble with most every crime and misdemeanor you can think of, and even felonies. So, I mean, I don't know what the correlation is of nature versus nurture in any relationship to that. I don't know if my mom would have been like that, if it would have made a difference at all. I don't know if that's just the path of juvenile delinquency me and my brother took. I don't know. It just was what it was. I can't even comprehend a different form of family of my mom even approaching the subject like that. With any type of relationship to drinking, sex, or anything with other than just a traditional what you would expect from somebody born in the 40s, kind of relationship. Like the show Freaks and Geeks. Have you ever seen that show?
No.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's just, just parents, very traditional, just...
Yeah, the dichotomy of that. Yeah, that's got to make
with,
for entertaining television.
With their
I'm sure
teenagers
they said, yes.
that are, trying to rebel against that. And that, I played out a pretty stereotypical teenage life.
I did too.
Yeah. But it paid off because today I think it makes me the person I am. And I think it makes me the entrepreneur I am. And I think it makes me that eternally curious person, somebody who's always seeking to do better and bigger things. I find myself to be a natural marketer even before I started marketing. I can remember when I was a 9-year-old kid thinking, I wish there was a job where I could just think of ideas all day long, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think about this is who I was, and then as I got older, then I started studying degrees more in line with that, like communications and marketing and stuff. That was kind of where I drew interest to, and I was more naturally like that, and more naturally wanting to be curious about business, not because I felt like I wanted to be a businessman. I didn't want to wear a tie and a suit per se. I liked the idea of having something and having a business and kind of being in control, having that daily change and the freedom to feel like
I could take this where I want it to go.
Well, and you create, right? And that's and kind of taking this full circle back into cannabis, right? Because we talk about that in entrepreneurship, and there's a lot more of it in cannabis, I believe, because of two reasons. How we got here, right? And people go to cannabis, they're searching for something, either to calm them down, like you and I were very hyperactive type A's, maybe, right? Or to address anxiety, say, in the case of my wife and other people, but that they find themselves, they don't know why, but they get attracted. It's also creativity is the second one. So when you combine these, that makes for great business opportunities, right? Not only do we become more creative and we want to build and we want to grow and we come up with wonderful solutions out of the box, but if you're in cannabis, either you're in it because it's calming you down, let's say, or because maybe you've got a felony under it. You've got other barriers in your life that say, I can't be that normal Joe, Mr. Guy next door in the cubicle, right?
Yeah.
I need to try other shit. And that's good. And then you combine that with creativity. I can't wait to see how many other businesses come out of cannabis business, right? We're just now seeing it, right? But like you said, oh, that's the most fun part in the beginning, right? Now I have to actually run shit and pay taxes. Like, it sucks in a way, right? But in the beginning, you're drawing, you're going this, that, and if we did this, and if we made it this color, and if we put it here, and that thrill that you get from that is just something I can never give up in my life.
My wife laughs because when she sees me with the way our house is set up, my office, she can't directly see it unless she's like passing by a certain place. So when she sees me, probably 90% of the time, I'm just staring at my own website and my own pages, and she can't figure out why. And I keep telling her it's because that's how it keeps evolving. I have to keep just staring at it and thinking about it. It's never just done. I have to just keep staring at it until something little changes. And that's pretty much how it's been. Is just last week I updated my website by putting a map on the contact page. After 2 years, I finally got around to putting a map on the contact page so people could see it. It's like, but it just takes little by little of just doing things and progressing, and then looking back at the portfolio and going, wow, I actually have a business built here. And
I got to be honest with you. Most people I actually have working for Doobie are completely sober. All my developers are. They don't even smoke. My CEO doesn't smoke. But when we have a difficult problem, they'll call me immediately and be like, you need to get high, and you need to tell us what we're going to do here, essentially, right? Because that's where I can think out of the box and come up with an answer nobody could ever, to solve the problem in the most creative backdoor way imaginable, right? That's what made me also good in security. As a hacker, I could see both the other side and defend these things as well as create them and learn how to get around systems. And if you know how to get around software, you know how to patch it up. And so I was very, very good at that. But that applies to this too, is that kind of, the developers and everybody will tell you no every day. And I never go, okay. I go, what if this? Yeah. And they go, oh, shit, he's right. and they're like, wow, that's brilliant. Yeah, let's do that. I'm like, dude, you never accept no.
I want the no jar. My idea is the no jar, that every time I throw an idea out, if somebody says no in any form, like can't be done or not possible, they have to pay $20 into the jar, which means their answer has to be something other than a negative no. So if I say, hey, let's do this, they have to think of a way of saying no other than saying no, which usually leads people to saying the way it can be done. Yeah. Forcing people to never say no to you, and usually money is a good way to force people to say, hey, if I throw an idea out, you come back and you tell me how this idea is going to be implemented. Not come back and tell me how it's not going to be implemented, because your job is to figure out how to implement it. My job was to come up with the crazy idea and to help with the logistics of what's not working, but you're the engineer.
Yeah.
Do the math.
Facebook defined that so well in the early stages. When Mark ran up with, he's like, okay, and they were growing really, 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 really fast. And he said, our customers want this. And his engineers came back to him and said, well, you can't do that. It's 2000 whatever, 4. We don't have that kind of power. And they just started building their own fucking servers at that point. They're like, yeah, it can be done. Let me show you. Why doesn't it exist today? Look at why it doesn't exist. Well, because you need all these servers. You're going to need like this petabyte computer. Like, no. All we need is a bunch of freaking graphics cards lined up to do all this processing and then dedicate this on our own private network and blah, blah, blah. And then you've got this speed that Facebook has today that's amazing, that keeps it running so well, even though I hate all the ads. But that was a great example. It said, we can do anything. Don't let the society tell you what you can't do, even technology. Anything outside of physics, don't forget it. Even that, we defy that all the time too.
And I think we should already
accept that as truth because we've lived for 60, 70 years in a world where we've had sci-fi movies thinking abstract ideas visually in a medium that we can act, not just, neighbors on their country farm talking to each other, but a visual medium where groups of people can think in abstract ways. What happens if giant ants attack the planet? Well, here's a crazy abstract idea, but that leads to other crazy abstract ideas, which eventually starts bringing all these cool ideas out of the woodwork, having people that can think of the crazy ideas and then how to get around them. What is the craziest idea you're going to need to get around for Doobie?
The craziest idea?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe that's a little extreme, but you're looking at basically a point now where you need to take this to a bigger scale, right? You need to get some more exposure. You need to get some more interaction.
That's actually easy. The hardest part is keeping people there for, a day, a week, and a month, more than a month. Oh, amazing, right? Actually, we do better than anybody in that arena, funny enough. That's really kind of where we're best, but we want to take that to the next level. We want to be the Facebook of weed. We want to make sure that you're thinking about going in there every day because that's where you built communications. That's where you maintain communications. That's where you know certain types of people, where you get your events or where you get your deals or where you find all of this, right? Not to the average level. You say, well, people have done that, right?
Right.
But that's the big question is how do we maximize that to make it a truly enjoyable experience, right? Of connecting with other people for the sake of cannabis.
If I had a prediction, throw my opinion on it without knowing anything about your situation, your business, and this is the first time we've met. Mm-hmm. It's like Chris Angel, right? Have we ever met before? Here's what I would throw out there is going to be one of your biggest challenges. Just the fact of social media burnout.
Yeah.
That, is it a mass roots? Is it a kush.com site I was on for a while? Is it, there's a lot of social media popping up. There's a lot of checkout sites like the Leafly and the Weed Maps, and there's a lot of hybrids of the two. And then you just have the mainstream social media sites. And I think there's an overall social media burnout where when somebody sends you a link that says, hey, join this new social media network, people immediately feel the burden of, I have to invest into one more site, building a profile, building an audience, building a network, keeping relevant, coming back to it. And this has nothing to do with you and your product because I've seen your product and it is unique and it is cool. But just because things are cool and unique doesn't mean they're going to get the exposure they need to be out there.
Yeah.
So I would say knowing nothing about you and your business, one of the biggest challenges you're going to have is breaking through the social media inertia that's going on out there of people just not wanting to get involved in more social media because they're already overconsumed by social media.
Yeah, I like that. I like the way you put it because that is the biggest challenge. Because what do? Well, I think you simply say, well, what is social media and why have we defined it to be such a consuming burden? Yeah, it's become that. I've got my Instagram, I've got my Twitter. I spend all these time in all of them every day. I wouldn't do that if I wasn't in this business, mind you. I'd be like, forget it. I'd touch Facebook once a month. Like, I got better things to do. I should be outside probably, right? But in this case, we are going to address it. We got some other ideas, but in many ways, we've actually started to address it in the sense that it takes less to register. We don't really necessarily require involvement. It's more about you can follow other sort of superstars in the app and you just want to be entertained for a little bit. That is working in that sense because you're dead on right. And I think that's why we've done well is because we provided something just easy and it's like, great, I can get high, I can waste my time. And but then people start connecting. And that's where we need to maximize because then if it's like, hey, hit me up on Doobie, we're going to be doing, this, that, or did you see that in Doobie? There's a lot to do there that we've got plans on that you're right. I need to really think about don't make it cumbersome. Just keep it the way that it is in the sense that it's just a fun app. And to some people it's a waste of time. Some people it's highly educational. Other people it's a communication tool. But either way, it should never be a burden.
Maybe here's
so thank you for that advice. That's actually quite good.
Maybe here's a possibility for blockchain to come in. I've always
You're
wanted.
You're going to go there, aren't you?
I've always wanted something like this.
Funny.
I wish I could carry my profile with me. So my profile in a live streaming way, because I have all my different social media sites, and they all have similar stuff, right?
That's good.
But I wish there was a way I could scrape that information on a daily basis, have it securely held in my personal blockchain, and when I go to join a new site, I just simply push a button that takes all of that already programmed information.
We realize that, Facebook did that essentially, right?
But
we don't want it to be Facebook is what you're saying. I totally agree with you.
What I'm saying is, how do I join your site and just simply push a button and it takes everything I've had from my Facebook, my Twitter.
It's funny you
and it
asked
rebuilds my profile without me having to invest into rebuilding my profile. Because that's my inertia is going, Do you know how much time I've spent into these profile buildings?
You have a problem.
Answering the questions, your interest, all your pictures and the photos you want to use for your profile, connecting your friends, connecting to all the groups you want to be connected with on those individuals. It's like, it's so
this
much.
happened, by the way, in boardrooms in 2006 in Facebook. And what they came up with is, we're Facebook, fuck them. And that's what you have today if you don't use Facebook. So when we looked at, do we integrate Facebook into something like Doobie, we immediately said no. Right? Because it would have solved that problem. Yeah. But nobody wants to do that. They don't want their mom knowing they're tied to anything cannabis related.
Right. I don't want a relay, right? That's not what I want.
No, but
I don't
that's
want
what's available. I can't come up with a competing solution and win anymore. Right. That's my point, right? Facebook and Twitters of the world have already won that game, and they know it. And so you could, if let's say Doobie itself within cannabis became big enough, establish your own standard, and we could then use, a blockchain and smart contracts, for example.
Well, why can't you do this? When I go to create a profile, you have a button that says, we're not going to connect with your Facebook. We're just going to scrape all the information from your Facebook and transfer it over to us.
That's essentially what you're doing anyway. People don't want it. It's this issue of trust, especially with cannabis users that aren't in a legal state. It doesn't matter how many times you say.
This is why I'm saying blockchain.
It's anonymous, this and that. Still, they don't know what a blockchain is.
No, but
even when you explain it to them, if
this
they don't
is what you're going to do. You're going to bring
it.
Doobie to the world and explain concepts like this of how the cannabis industry can benefit from blockchain and cryptocurrency and how it's a secure, better managed, and the ability to do such a thing. I can have my personal blockchain and I can carry all my information with me. And this is the same concept of people using these universal credit cards, right? Where you take all your cards, you put all the information on one, and then you just have one card. When you swipe it, it pops up all the cards. You choose the one you want to use to pay, right? Yeah. You're basically just consolidating information on a digital format on a different medium. I want my personal blockchain, and I want to carry it around, maybe not on a USB, maybe just somewhere where I can just have it. So when I go to create a profile, I don't want to invest into a new social media construction. I will join your site if it's easy and if it's fast, but if I'm redundantly writing the same profile I've just written on Facebook and Twitter and Google Plus and LinkedIn and all the others, and now I'm having to re-upload the same photos.
You just created a whole new business right now. You realize that, don't you?
Well, that's what I do best, create problems.
Right. That's a business of its own. And the only way that it succeeds is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. I think it actually is solving a very big problem we have right now. But you would have to become basically almost a regulated standard for it to take enough hold, right? You'd have to have so much money behind it. Say, we're awesome. You need to use us to get that hold first. It's one of these, you got to spend $1 billion to make $1 trillion.
Right.
Deals.
Well, this is where I think the money can be made if somebody wants to create a service company showing dispensaries how to incorporate Bitcoin into their business.
Oh, that's been done.
But not really. Not
well.
Not really, because there's not an industry out there that's using cryptocurrency. There's individuals that are putting the Bitcoin machines in some dispensaries. I am familiar with the Potcoin and some of the other.
I also put in a Potcoin ATM in a dispensary in River Rock, not too far from here, actually.
But this is different than a mass standard on the industry getting involved in cryptocurrency and embracing blockchain for record keeping, because record keeping is the biggest cumbersome burden compliance issue that I can see with dispensaries. Is this ridiculous amount of paperwork that's just not very secure, and it's poorly managed.
The blockchain's not going to fix that. It could. It's just we're not there.
That's what's happening right now. Is I'm talking to somebody that's hearing this, that is getting the spark of the idea to create that first business. The business where they're going to go out and they're going to start converting the cannabis industry onto cryptocurrency and blockchain.
Well, that was Potcoin. It was a perfect example of exactly that. And there's still a couple of people still trying to do that, but they don't want you to do that.
I mean, there's competing interests within the cryptocurrency. I mean, there is a lot of issues, but there's also issues that say if you're going to force them to be a cash business and you're going to force the banks not to do business with them, how can you force them to not take their personal money and put it into an anonymous, secure place like Bitcoin? And how would you ever know?
Because they can't stop it. As a matter of fact, the MED, the enforcement division, I spearheaded a case of cryptocurrency with the MED of Colorado. They did not, in the end, make an official statement, but they did basically, in the end, make a statement of no statement on purpose, saying that we're not going to say one way or another. which gave us exactly what we needed to hear, which is, yes, it can be done, it should be done, but the amount of money and time it would take to convince so many dispensaries, and there's not even that many of them, and they're not even willing to pay anything to do this, was insurmountable.
But it has to be a collaboration. The consumer has to push for it. As a consumer, when I walk in a dispensary, I have a responsibility to say, hey, do you guys accept Bitcoin? And then to have the person go, no, what's that? Right? There's a seed that's been planted. If 1 million consumers every day were walking around dispensaries going, hey, can I pay with Bitcoin? Can I pay with Bitcoin? There would be some awareness and there would be some action. The problem is the numbers.
That's not there yet. There's no Bitcoin organization. I mean, there is, but nobody's really marketing it centrally or anything, which would actually help it quite a bit if they did. It's a time issue. We're going to have federal legalization before people even know what a Bitcoin is on average. That's going to happen, and then the problem goes away, right? It's like, okay, problem over. And if you were in a business that was doing conversion for these, once it does that, then you're just out of business that next day. Not a great business to be in the long run.
Maybe. From the cryptocurrency standpoint, I still think the blockchain's best. Let's give one solid kind of wrap up that we can take away from this conversation, something you can throw out there to the world that says, in my path of what you've been doing as this business, this is the one thing I can part ways with all you other cannapreneurs out there. Do this first or second.
I could be cliche.
Don't tell me do what you love. Don't tell me that. What I look for is tactical, tangible stuff, which means like if you say start a business, don't tell me do what I love. Tell me to go to the Secretary of State and register that business. That's a tactical move of starting a business, right?
I'll tell you, because I don't think they're cliche, because I only use them mine. I'll tell you what's tattooed on my arm, and that's no excuses, only solutions. But beyond that, I'd say the number one with this is you can do anything, but you can't do it alone. And if you really think you're going to start a business and you can do it all alone, you can, but it only gets so big and so far. Right? Anybody can do that. But if you really want to succeed, you need the right people. You need the right team. And if you as that individual are trying to succeed, it's up to you to maintain, manage, and lead that team regardless of who you hire. And you better hire people that are better than you.
Very good. That was actually the question we dropped off on is money and people. How do you find the money? How do you find the people? When we got sidetracked on the last conversation. So I think you just came back and answered it in perfect harmony, wrapping that up. You know, this has been a great long conversation. This was excellent. Throw out your contact information one more time where people can get the app. If people want to talk to you about what you're doing or just whatever information you want to throw out there.
Yeah, and it's Doobie, and it's on Apple and Android mobile devices, and you can just go to doobie.co. That's DUBY.co. And hit our website, find out more about us. And if you want to just send us any general inquiry, just info@doobie.co email.
I appreciate it. Thanks for coming down to the studio today.
It was fun.
Let's make sure to do it again and bring your other crew with you. Bring whoever else that's working with you, and we'll have a group conversation. We'll talk about something else, and
be fun.
We'll do it again.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks a lot, man. There you have it, Cannapreneurs. That's all I have for you this week. But make sure to stay in touch with us. Stay with us on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+, Twitter, all the networks out there, even Mass Roots and YouTube. Make sure to follow us every week right here. Leave your comments. Give us your feedback. Be on the show. We want to see you every week. This is your community, so make sure to come back. We'll see you next week.